Hey everyone. My name is Emma, and you are listening to Revenge Diaries with Emma. Today we unravel a story so steeped in quiet longing and calculated silence that you'll question whether love is ever truly selfless, or if it's just another word for possession dressed in silk. You've probably seen those old black and white films where a woman gazes tragically out a rain-streaked window while her heart breaks in slow motion. But real betrayal? It doesn't announce itself with violins. It slips in through shared glances across the dinner table, through the way someone lingers a second too long when handing you your coffee. And you? You probably won't survive this, not emotionally, anyway, because the cruelest betrayals are the ones that feel like kindness right up until they gut you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. It's wild to think someone in Oslo or Cape Town might be hearing these same words as city lights flicker on outside their window. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You trudge through the front door, heels clicking against hardwood, exhaustion clinging to your shoulders like static. The scent of jasmine lingers in the hallway, her favorite. It always has been. You tell yourself it's coincidence, the way your brother's fiancé keeps wearing that perfume even after you mentioned how much it reminded you of your late mother. But you know better. You've known for weeks. Maybe months. It started small, the way she'd laugh just a little louder when he walked into the room, the subtle shift of her body toward him during movie nights, the way she'd ask you about his habits, his coffee order, his sleep schedule, whether he still hated cilantro. He did, but only because you once told her he did, just to see what she'd do with the information. You let it happen. Not because you're cruel, though some days you wonder, but because watching her fall for him felt like watching a slow-motion car crash with no brakes and no one willing to look away. You told yourself it was curiosity. A sociological experiment. What happens when loyalty and desire collide in the same heart? But deep down, you wanted to see if she'd choose him over you. Over everything. Over the years of late-night calls, birthday surprises, the time you held her hair back after she drank too much at your cousin's wedding. You wanted to see if love, real, messy, inconvenient love, would override everything else. And oh, it did. You remember the first time you caught her looking at him the way she used to look at you. It was during a family barbecue last summer. The sun hung low, casting golden streaks across the backyard, and your brother was flipping burgers with that easy grin he always wore when he thought no one was watching. She stood beside the lemonade pitcher, glass sweating in her hand, eyes fixed on him like he was the only person in the world. You watched from the porch swing, pretending to scroll through your phone, but really cataloging every micro-expression, the softening of her lips, the slight tilt of her head, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a nervous habit she only did when she was trying to compose herself. You didn't say a word. Instead, you poured yourself another drink and let the silence wrap around you like a second skin. You told yourself it was none of your business. That adults make their own choices. But the truth was, you were already plotting. Not in a villainous way, more like a scientist observing a specimen under glass. You wanted to see how far she'd go. How deep the rot would spread before it consumed her. Weeks passed. The engagement ring glinted on her finger like a promise she no longer believed in. She still wore it, of course. Still posted photos of date nights with your brother on Instagram. Still called you future sister-in-law with that practiced cheerfulness that barely masked the hollowness beneath. But you saw the cracks. The way her texts to you grew shorter. The way she'd cancel plans last minute, citing family stuff or work stress, only for you to later spot her downtown, walking arm in arm with him, laughing at something he said like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. And still, you let her. Because the cruelest part? You were testing him too. You wanted to know if he'd notice. If he'd care. If he'd choose you over her, or if he'd let her slip away from you without a second thought. Family isn't just blood, it's the quiet understanding that someone will always have your back, even when you don't deserve it. But what happens when that understanding fractures? When the person you trusted most becomes the architect of your quiet undoing? You tell yourself you're being dramatic. That maybe you're imagining things. But then you find it, a crumpled receipt in the trash with 2 movie tickets dated for a night she told you she was working late. And beside it, tucked in the corner of the bin like an afterthought, a lipstick-stained coffee cup with his initials scribbled on the side in her looping handwriting. Your stomach drops. Not because you're shocked, no, you saw this coming, but because now it's real. And real things can't be unseen. You stand there in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence, and make a decision. You won't confront her. Not yet. You'll let the story play out. Let her weave her web. Because the truth is, you need to see it all, the full arc of her betrayal, before you decide what to do with the pieces. After all, revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's just watching someone destroy themselves with their own hands, and handing them the match. You've heard the phrase, blood is thicker than water, but no one ever tells you what happens when the water turns to poison and the blood refuses to clot. You watch her now, not with anger, not yet, but with the detached fascination of someone studying a moth circling a flame, knowing full well it's only a matter of time before wings catch fire. She doesn't realize you're tracking her. To her, you're just the supportive almost sister-in-law, always ready with a smile and a listening ear. And you play the part well. Too well. You ask gentle questions over brunch. How's the wedding planning going? Did you and Mark finally pick a venue? He's been so happy lately, must be because of you. Each sentence is a featherlight probe, testing the tension in the air, measuring how far she's willing to stretch the truth before it snaps. She always answers with practiced ease, eyes bright, posture relaxed. But you notice the tells, the half-second pause before she says his name, the way her fingers twist the stem of her wineglass when she mentions his busy schedule, the overcompensation in her laughter. She thinks she's hiding it. She thinks you're blind. But you're not blind. You're waiting. And he's oblivious. Or maybe he's not. That's the part that keeps you up at night. Your brother has always been the golden child, charming, effortlessly kind, the kind of man who remembers your barista's name and tips in exact change. People trust him without thinking. You used to be one of them. But lately, you catch him glancing at her when he thinks no one's looking. Not with suspicion, but with something softer. Warmer. Like he's memorizing the curve of her smile, the way sunlight catches in her hair. Like he's falling too. The thought coils cold in your gut. Because if he's falling, then this isn't just her betrayal, it's theirs. And you're the only one standing outside the circle, watching the foundation of your family crack beneath the weight of unspoken desire. You start leaving breadcrumbs. Tiny, insignificant things that mean nothing on their own but form a trail if you're paying attention. You accidentally leave your phone unlocked on the couch when she visits, knowing she'll snoop. You mention a fake work trip coming up, 3 days in Chicago, just to see if she and he plan something during your absence. You even go so far as to wear his favorite sweater to dinner one night, just to watch her reaction. She says nothing, of course. Just sips her water and compliments your hair. But her knuckles whiten around her fork. It's working. You feel a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. This isn't who you are, or at least, who you thought you were. You were the steady one, the anchor. Now you're engineering emotional landmines and enjoying the tension. But what choice do you have? Confrontation would shatter everything. Accusations would be denied. And you? You'd be the jealous sister, the bitter bridesmaid, the villain in their love story. No. Better to let them write their own ending. Better to let them believe they're getting away with it, until they aren't. One evening, you find them alone in the living room. You're supposed to be out with friends, but you doubled back, claiming you forgot your charger. The house is quiet except for the low murmur of their voices. You linger in the hallway, just out of sight, listening. She's been so distant lately, she says, voice soft with concern. Do you think she's okay? Your brother sighs. I don't know. She's been different. Ever since the engagement. A pause. Heavy. Loaded. She's going to be my sister, he adds, almost to himself. I just want everyone to be happy. You almost laugh. The irony is thick enough to choke on. He thinks he's being noble. Protective. But all he's doing is paving the road for their mutual ruin. You step into the room then, casual as ever. Hey. Forgot my charger, again. They jump apart like teenagers caught making out. She smooths her dress. He clears his throat. Hey, he says, too quickly. We were just talking about you. Yeah? You smile, warm and genuine. What did I do now? Nothing, she says, eyes wide. Just wondering if you've picked your dress for the bridal shower. Not yet, you say, grabbing the charger from the side table. But I'll let you know. You leave without another word. But as you walk back to your car, you realize something. They're not just falling for each other. They're already there. And the worst part? They still think they're hiding it from you. So you let them. Because the deeper they go, the harder the fall. And when it comes, and it will, you'll be standing there, not with a knife, but with an open hand. Offering help. Offering forgiveness. Offering the very thing they betrayed. And that, more than anything, will destroy them. You've always loved weddings, the crisp white linens, the soft glow of candlelight, the way time seems to slow just enough for people to remember what matters. But now? Now you look at wedding magazines and feel like you're reading a manual for a disaster you can't stop. The invitations have already gone out. The venue, a sun-drenched vineyard nestled in the hills, is booked for late September. The florist knows her favorite blooms, peonies, always peonies. The cake tasting happened last week. You weren't invited. Not that it matters. You know what happened there anyway. She chose vanilla bean with raspberry filling, the same flavor you told her your brother hated. He didn't correct her. He just nodded and smiled like a man already halfway out the door. You watch the engagement unravel in real time, like a sweater pulled at one loose thread. First, it's the cancelled appointments. She tells the seamstress she's not feeling well, but you see her post a gym selfie that same afternoon. Then it's the missed family dinners, excuses about work emergencies that never quite add up. Your parents exchange glances over the dinner table, but no one says anything. They're waiting. Like you are. The truth is, the wedding was never about love. Not anymore. It's about obligation, momentum, the sheer weight of expectation. She says yes to the dress, to the menu, to the guest list, but her eyes are hollow. You see it every time she catches your reflection in a mirror behind you, those split seconds where the mask slips, and what's left is pure panic. She doesn't want this. Not with him. But she doesn't know how to stop it without admitting why. And he's playing his part too well. He buys her a diamond tennis bracelet, just because. He toasts her at their engagement party with a speech so polished it sounds rehearsed. But you notice the way his hand lingers on her lower back during photos, not possessive, but tentative, like he's already apologizing for what he's about to do. You attend the final pre-wedding meeting with the planner. She's late, of course. When she finally arrives, her hair is slightly damp, her cheeks flushed. You know that look. It's the look of someone who just came from a hurried goodbye in a parked car. You say nothing. Just offer her your water bottle with a sympathetic smile. Rough morning? She thanks you, takes a sip, and launches into a stream of updates about table settings and seating charts, all surface level, all carefully curated to project control. But her voice wavers when she mentions the first dance song. We're still deciding, she says, avoiding your eyes. You nod like it's normal. Like you don't know they've already practiced dancing to, at last, in his apartment after midnight, when the city is quiet and no one's watching. That night, you find a folded piece of paper tucked into your mailbox. No envelope, no name, just her handwriting, looping and familiar. I can't do this. You don't open it right away. You stand on the porch, the summer air thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, and hold it like it might burn you. You already know what it says. You've been waiting for this moment. But now that it's here, you feel no triumph, only a quiet, aching sadness. Because this isn't just her breaking off the wedding. It's your family fracturing. Your brother's heart shattering. Your future rewritten in real time. You tuck the note into your pocket and go inside. The next morning, you call her. Got your note, you say, voice calm. Want to talk? She breaks down within minutes. Sobs into the phone about how confused she is, how guilty she feels, how she never meant for any of this to happen. You listen. You offer tissues you can't physically hand her. You tell her it's okay. That you understand. And in that moment, you seal her fate. Because forgiveness is the most dangerous gift you can give a betrayer. It doesn't absolve them, it chains them to their guilt. And guilt, unlike love, never fades. It only grows heavier with time. The wedding is called off 3 days later. Officially, it's mutual. Unofficially, everyone knows. Your parents are devastated. Your brother retreats into silence. And she? She disappears for a week, claiming she needs space. But you know better. She's not running from the wedding. She's running toward him. And you? You let her go. Because the real story doesn't end with a cancelled wedding. It begins the moment she thinks she's free. Family dinners used to be your sanctuary, boisterous, chaotic, full of overlapping voices and buttery garlic bread passed hand to hand like a sacrament. Now, they're minefields. Every clink of a fork, every forced laugh, every too long pause between sentences feels charged with something unsaid. You sit at the table like a ghost, watching the wreckage of what used to be unfold in slow motion. Your parents tiptoe around the subject, as if naming the broken engagement might make it permanent. Your brother picks at his food, eyes downcast, shoulders slumped like he's carrying a weight no one else can see. And she? She doesn't come anymore. Too awkward, she texted you last week. You replied with a heart emoji and a totally get it 2 hearts, all sweetness, no sting. But the absence is louder than any argument. You notice how your mother sets a place for her anyway, then quietly removes it when it becomes clear she won't show. How your father keeps asking your brother about that project at work, knowing full well his son hasn't been to the office in days. How the conversation dies every time someone accidentally mentions weddings, proposals, or even the word September. You play your part perfectly. You refill wine glasses. You compliment your mom's lasagna. You ask your brother about his new hiking boots, neutral territory, safe ground. But beneath the surface, you're taking notes. Cataloging reactions. Measuring the distance between who they were and who they've become. And then, one night, it happens. You're passing the salad when your brother's phone lights up on the table. A notification. Just a name. But you see it. Her name. He snatches it up too quickly. Your mother notices. A beat of silence stretches, fragile as glass. "Everything okay?" she asks, voice gentle but edged with something sharp. "Yeah," he says, too fast. "Just work." You don't say a word. But you catch the flicker in his eyes, the guilt, the fear, the desperate hope that no one else saw what you saw. Later, in the kitchen, while you're helping your mom load the dishwasher, she speaks quietly. "Do you think they're still talking?" You shrug, wiping a plate with exaggerated care. "Wouldn't surprise me." She sighs, leaning against the counter. "I just don't understand." She seemed so happy. She was, you say, and it's true. She was happy, with you. Before your brother walked into the frame and tilted the whole picture. You don't tell your mother about the late-night calls you've overheard when visiting his apartment. You don't mention the way he stares at his phone like it's a lifeline. You don't bring up the fact that she's been seen leaving his building at 3 a.m., wearing his jacket, hair disheveled. Because knowledge is power, and right now, you're the only one holding all the cards. A few days later, you run into her at the grocery store. It's not accidental. You've been tracking her routine, Tuesdays and Fridays, always around 6 p.m. She's in the organic produce aisle, frowning at avocados, when you appear beside her. "Hey," you say, warm as sunshine. She jumps, nearly dropping a carton of strawberries. "Oh. Hi. I didn't see you. Busy day?" "Always." She forces a smile. "How's everyone holding up?" You pause, then add softly, "He misses you." Her breath hitches. Just slightly. But you catch it. You don't press. You talk about the weather, the new coffee shop downtown, how your yoga class is packed these days. All harmless. All surface. But as you walk away, you glance back and see her standing exactly where you left her, cart forgotten, staring at nothing. That night, you get a text, "Can we talk?" You wait an hour before replying. "Of course. Always here for you." You know what she wants. She wants absolution. She wants you to say it's okay, to give her permission to choose him without becoming the villain in your family story. And you will. Eventually. But not yet. Because the deeper she sinks into this, the more she'll need you. And when she does, when she's desperate, guilty, and utterly lost, you'll be the only one offering a hand. The only one who understands. The only one she can't afford to lose. And that's power. You've stared into mirrors your whole life, but never like this, not with the kind of raw, unflinching clarity that makes your stomach twist and your breath catch. She stands in front of the full-length glass in her bedroom, still wearing yesterday's clothes, hair tangled, eyes rimmed with the ghost of last night's tears. The reflection staring back isn't the woman who laughed over coffee with you for hours, who cried with you after your first real breakup, who promised to be your sister, no matter what. This woman is fractured. Haunted. A stranger wearing the skin of someone you once trusted completely. She touches her cheek, as if testing whether she's real. Then her gaze drops to her left hand, the one that used to wear an engagement ring. The tan line is still there, faint but unmistakable, like a ghost of the promise she abandoned. She curls her fingers into a fist, then slowly opens them again, as though trying to release something she can't name. Guilt, maybe. Or regret. Or worse, relief. Because that's the truth she hasn't admitted out loud. She doesn't miss the wedding. She misses you. Not the future sister-in-law, not the polite companion at family events, but the friend. The confidant. The person who knew her before all of this. And that loss cuts deeper than any betrayal ever could. She sinks onto the edge of the bed, still facing the mirror, and whispers to her reflection, "What have I done?" It's not a question meant for an answer. It's a plea. A confession. A quiet unraveling. You know this moment intimately, not because you've been in her room, you haven't, but because you've imagined it 100 times. You've mapped the arc of her conscience like a cartographer tracing coastlines. You know the exact pressure points, the memory of your mother's hopeful smile at the engagement party, the sound of your brother's voice when he said, "She's going to be family," the way you hugged her after the ring was slipped on her finger and whispered, "I'm so happy for you." Every kindness you showed her now weighs like lead in her chest. She scrolls through old photos on her phone, birthday parties, beach trips, lazy Sundays on your couch with wine and rom-coms. In every picture, you're beside her, arms slung over her shoulder, grinning like the world was still whole. Now, those images feel like evidence. Proof of a loyalty she discarded for something fleeting, something uncertain. She texts you again that night. Not the vague, "Can we talk?" from before, but something raw, unfiltered. "I look in the mirror and don't recognize myself. I keep waiting to wake up and realize this is a nightmare." You read it 3 times. Then you type, "You're not alone. Come over tomorrow. We'll figure it out together." You don't ask about him. You don't mention your brother. You offer tea, silence, and the comfort of someone who still sees her, not the woman who betrayed you, but the one who's drowning in the aftermath. When she arrives the next afternoon, she's wearing your favorite sweater, the one you accidentally left at her place months ago during a sleepover. It's a small thing, but it speaks volumes. She's trying to reconnect. To rebuild. To crawl back toward the version of herself that didn't make this choice. You let her sit on your couch, knees drawn to her chest, and you hand her a mug without a word. The steam rises between you like a veil. "I never meant to hurt you," she finally says, voice barely above a whisper. "I know," you reply. And you do. That's what makes it worse. She didn't set out to destroy anything. She just stopped seeing you as a person and started seeing you as an obstacle, a temporary barrier between her and whatever this feeling is that's consuming her. You don't tell her that. Instead, you say, "Feelings are messy. But you don't have to navigate them alone." She cries then, great, heaving sobs that shake her whole frame. You hand her tissues. Rub her back. Say all the right things. And all the while, you're thinking, this is how it starts. This is how you earn the right to watch her fall even farther. Because forgiveness isn't mercy. It's strategy. And she's handing you the perfect weapon, her trust, wrapped in tears and desperation. You've always believed that the smallest things hold the loudest truths. A crumpled receipt. A lipstick stain. A single photograph tucked into the spine of a book no one reads anymore. That's where you find it, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon while borrowing her copy of The Great Gatsby. She loaned it to you months ago, back when lending books felt like sharing secrets. You're flipping through the pages, not really reading, just letting your fingers graze the paper, when something slips out and flutters to the floor. A photo. Not a digital print, not a casual phone snap, but a real, developed photograph, slightly curled at the edges, as if it's been handled often. It shows her and your brother on a pier at sunset, shoulders touching, heads bent close in laughter. The sky behind them is streaked with gold and violet, the water below dark and shimmering. They look happy, intimate, like they've been doing this for years. But that's not what stops your breath. It's the date stamp in the corner, August 12th. 3 weeks before the engagement was called off. 3 weeks before she swore she was just confused. 3 weeks before she stood in your kitchen and cried about how much she hated hurting you. You turn the photo over. On the back, in her handwriting, finally feels real. Your hands don't shake. Your heart doesn't race. Instead, a cold, quiet clarity settles over you, like frost forming on a windowpane. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This wasn't a slip. This was deliberate. Planned. Cherished. You slide the photo back into the book, close it gently, and place it on her coffee table exactly where you found it. Then you walk to the kitchen, pour yourself a glass of water, and wait for her to come home from work. She arrives 40 minutes later, damp from the rain, cheeks flushed, humming softly as she kicks off her shoes. She doesn't notice the book is on the table instead of the shelf. Doesn't notice the way you're watching her with new eyes. "How was your day?" she asks, shrugging off her coat. "Fine," you say. "Yours?" "Exhausting. But good." She smiles, genuine, relaxed. The smile of someone who thinks she's gotten away with it. You let the moment pass. Let her believe the lie a little longer. Because now you have proof. Not just suspicion, not just circumstantial glances, but tangible, undeniable evidence that while she was promising your family forever, she was already building a different kind of forever with your brother. That night, alone in your apartment, you take out your phone and scroll through your messages with her. Dozens of texts where she claims she never planned for this, where she insists it just happened, where she begs you to understand. You read them now with fresh eyes, and the dissonance is staggering. She didn't just betray your trust. She lied to your face while holding your hand. And yet, you still don't confront her. Not because you're afraid. Not because you're weak. But because the photograph has given you something far more valuable than anger, leverage. You know now that she treasures this moment. That she's kept this image like a talisman, a secret affirmation that what they have is real. And that means she'll do anything to protect it, including leaning harder on you for emotional cover. So the next time she calls, voice trembling, saying she can't sleep and needs to talk, you answer right away. You listen. You soothe. You remind her that you're her safe place. And all the while, you're thinking, you hid this photo like a treasure. Soon, you'll wish you'd burned it instead. Because secrets only stay secret as long as no one's looking. And you? You're watching everything. Rain taps against the window like 1,000 impatient fingers, a steady rhythm that matches the pulse in your temples as you sit in your parked car outside her building. It's past midnight. Your hands rest lightly on the steering wheel, damp from the humid air, but you don't turn on the heat. You want to feel the chill. You want to stay sharp. She doesn't know you're here. You've been waiting for over an hour, ever since you saw his car pull up and park under the dim yellow glow of the street lamp. You didn't follow him. You didn't need to. You already knew where he'd be tonight. She texted you earlier, voice trembling, saying she couldn't stop thinking about everything and needed to make sense of it all. You told her to call him. Not directly, of course, but you planted the seed. Sometimes the only way to find peace is to face the person who holds the answers. And so she did. Now, you watch from the shadows as the front door opens and he steps out, collar turned up against the rain. He pauses on the stoop, glancing back through the glass. You can't see her, but you know she's there, just inside, watching him leave. He walks to his car slowly, head down, shoulders hunched like the weight of the night is pressing down on him. When he drives away, you don't follow. You stay put. Because you're not here for him. You're here for her. 10 minutes later, the front door opens again. She steps out, barefoot, wrapped in a thin robe, hair loose and damp from the bathroom steam. She doesn't look left or right, just stands there in the rain, arms wrapped around herself, face tilted toward the sky as if begging the clouds to wash her clean. You get out of the car. Your footsteps are soft on the wet pavement, but she hears you. She turns, eyes wide, startled, then softening with recognition. You, she says, voice raw. Me, you reply. For a long moment, neither of you moves. Rain soaks through your jacket, drips from your hair, pools in the hollow of your collarbone. She looks broken. Not dramatically, not theatrically, but quietly, thoroughly shattered. I didn't know you'd come, she says. I didn't either, you admit. But I couldn't sleep. She lets out a shaky laugh that dissolves into a sob. You close the distance between you in 2 steps and pull her into your arms. She clings to you like you're the only solid thing in a world that's tilted off its axis. He says we can't keep doing this, she whispers into your shoulder. He says it's not fair, to you, to his family, to us. You stroke her hair, say nothing. He's right, she continues, pulling back slightly, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. I knew it was wrong. From the beginning, I knew. But it felt inevitable. Like trying to hold back the tide. You nod slowly. Love doesn't always make sense. Is that what this is? She asks, searching your face. Love? You don't answer right away. You look past her, at the dark windows of her apartment, at the single lamp still burning in the living room, the one she left on for him. Maybe, you say finally. Or maybe it's just fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of living with the consequences. She swallows hard. I don't want to lose you. The words hang between you, heavy and true. You take her hand. You won't. Not unless you push me away. She squeezes your fingers like a lifeline. I'd never. But you know better. People always push away the ones they've hurt the most. It's easier than facing them every day. Easier than carrying the shame. You walk her back inside, dry her hair with a towel, make her chamomile tea just the way she likes it, honey, no lemon. You sit on the couch beside her, silence stretching like a bridge between 2 islands of pain. I keep thinking about that photo, she says suddenly. Your pulse skips, but you don't react. What photo? The one from the pier. I found it again last week. I don't even remember taking it. But I keep it, like it's proof we existed outside of all this mess. You nod. Sometimes we need proof that we were happy, even if it was for the wrong reasons. She looks at you then, really looks, and something flickers in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or dawning suspicion. But before she can say anything, you stand. Get some rest. I'll check on you tomorrow. She doesn't stop you. As you walk out into the rain again, you know one thing for certain. She's starting to wonder if you know more than you let on. And that's exactly where you want her. Because paranoia is a sharper blade than anger. And you've just given it a handle. Confrontations are rarely explosive. They're quiet. Methodical. Like peeling an onion until there's nothing left but tears and a hollow core. You've waited for this moment, not the dramatic showdown in a thunderstorm, not the screaming match that ends with shattered glass, but the slow, inevitable reckoning between two brothers who once shared a room, secrets, and every childhood scar. You find him in his apartment on a Saturday morning, sunlight slicing through half-drawn blinds, dust motes swirling in the beams like scattered memories. He's sitting at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, staring at his phone as if it might explain everything. He doesn't look up when you walk in. He already knows why you're here. "Hey," you say, voice calm. "Hey." He doesn't move. You sit across from him, folding your hands on the table. No theatrics. No accusations. Just presence. It takes him 3 minutes of silence before he speaks. "She told you, didn't she?" "Not everything," you say. "But enough." He flinches, just slightly, as if the words are weights pressing down on his ribs. "I never meant for it to happen." "People say that a lot," you reply. Right before they do it again. He finally looks at you, eyes red-rimmed, voice strained. "You think I don't know how this looks? You think I'm not drowning in guilt every single day? I think you made a choice," you say evenly. "And now you have to live with it." He runs a hand through his hair, exhales sharply. "I loved her. I still do. But I never wanted to hurt you. But you did." The words hang between you, simple and brutal. Not just because you kissed her or held her hand or whatever you've been doing in the dark. You hurt me because you both pretended I wouldn't notice. Because you acted like my feelings didn't matter as long as you got what you wanted. He opens his mouth to protest, but you raise a hand. "I'm not here to fight," you continue. "I'm here to ask you one question. Are you going to choose her? Really choose her? Or are you just using her to fill some void you don't even understand?" He stares at you, stunned. Because that's the thing no one said aloud. Not your parents, not his friends, not even her. They've all been caught up in the romance of the betrayal, the forbidden love narrative. But you see the truth. This isn't about passion. It's about avoidance. He's running from responsibility, from the weight of a future he wasn't ready for, and she's the escape hatch. "I don't know," he admits, voice barely audible. "Then you don't deserve her," you say. "And you definitely don't deserve me." He looks like you've struck him. "That's not fair." "None of this is fair," you snap, the first crack in your composure. "She was supposed to be my sister. You were supposed to be my brother. And instead, you both turned my life into collateral damage." Silence stretches, thick and suffocating. Finally, he says, "What do you want me to do?" "I don't want you to do anything," you say, standing. "I just needed you to see it. All of it. The mess you made. The trust you broke. The family you're tearing apart." You turn to leave. "Wait," he calls after you. You pause at the door. "Do you hate me?" You think about it. Really think. "No," you say. "But I don't trust you anymore. And that's worse." You walk out. And just like that, the last thread between you snaps, not with a bang, but with the quiet finality of a door clicking shut. You don't cry. Not yet. Because the hardest part isn't the betrayal. It's realizing the person you loved most in the world chose someone else over you, and still expected you to stay. She vanishes on a Tuesday. No warning. No final text. Just silence where there used to be constant contact, morning memes, midday check-ins, late-night voice notes about nothing and everything. At first, you assume it's another one of her "I need space" retreats. You give her 24 hours. Then 48. By day 3, even her closest friends are asking you if you've heard from her. You haven't. You call her phone. Straight to voicemail. You knock on her apartment door. No answer. You check social media, her accounts are dormant, no stories, no likes, no cryptic song lyrics hinting at inner turmoil. It's as if she's been erased. But you know better than to panic. Because you saw the signs. The way she'd grown quieter after your rain-soaked reunion. The way she kept glancing at her phone like it might deliver a verdict. The way she started packing small things into a canvas tote during your last visit, her journal, a framed photo of the two of you from college, her mother's locket. You thought she was just tidying up. Now you realize, she was preparing to disappear. You don't tell your brother. Not yet. You let him stew in his own guilt, wondering if she's ghosting him too. You let your parents fret over that poor girl and speculate about breakdowns and burnout. And you? You investigate. Not in a dramatic, detective novel way, but quietly, methodically. You visit her workplace. She put in her resignation last week, her manager says, eyebrows raised. Said she needed to reconnect with herself. You check flight records through a mutual friend who works at the airport. Nothing domestic. Nothing international. She didn't flee the country. She's still here. Hiding in plain sight. Then, on day 5, you find it, a postcard in your mailbox. No return address. Just a black and white image of a lighthouse on a rocky coast and 3 words on the back, I had to go. Your breath catches. Not because of the message, but because of the stamp. It's from a small coastal town 3 hours north, a place you once talked about visiting together during a weekend getaway that never happened. You remember the conversation vividly. She'd said, if I ever need to disappear, that's where I'd go. No cell service. Just ocean and silence. And you'd laughed and said, good luck hiding from me. Now, you trace the postmark with your thumb and realize, she wasn't hiding from the world. She was hiding from you. From the guilt. From the weight of your forgiveness. From the unbearable knowledge that every kind word you offered was laced with something she couldn't name but deeply feared. You don't follow her. You don't call the local motels or scour the town's Instagram tags. Instead, you write back. Not a letter, just a single sentence on a plain note card. I hope you find what you're looking for. You mail it to the general delivery address in that town, knowing she'll get it if she wants to. And then you wait. Because vanishing isn't an end. It's a confession. And the fact that she sent you that postcard, knowing you'd recognize the location, knowing you'd understand, means she still sees you as her anchor, even as she drifts away. That's the cruelest part of all. She didn't leave to escape her feelings for your brother. She left to escape what she'd done to you. And in doing so, she proved that your bond was the one thing she couldn't betray without breaking herself. Her apartment sits like a museum of a life interrupted. The landlord, an older man with kind eyes and a clipboard, lets you in after you explain, carefully, calmly, that you're her emergency contact and worried she left something important behind. He doesn't ask questions. Maybe he's used to tenants vanishing mid-lease. Maybe he sees the tightness in your jaw and decides not to pry. The door clicks open, and the scent hits you first, stale coffee, faint lavender, and the ghost of her jasmine perfume. Everything is exactly as she left it. Bed unmade. Mug drying on the counter. A half-finished crossword on the coffee table, pencil still resting on 12 down. It's eerie, like she stepped out for milk and never came back. You don't snoop, not at first. You sit on the couch, hands folded, and let the silence settle around you. This was her sanctuary. Her private world. And now it's frozen in time, waiting for an owner who may never return. But you're not here for nostalgia. You're here for answers. You start in the bedroom. Drawers neatly organized, clothes still hanging in the closet, mostly. A few gaps where outfits are missing. Not enough for a permanent move, but enough for a long stay elsewhere. You check under the mattress. Nothing. Flip through the books on her nightstand. Just dog-eared novels and a sleep journal. Then you move to the desk. Her laptop is gone. Phone charger still plugged in. You open the top drawer. Pens, rubber bands, a packet of throat lozenges. The second drawer, locked. You pause. It's an old wooden desk, the kind with a tiny brass keyhole. You remember her mentioning once that she kept sentimental junk in there. You never thought much of it. Now, you wonder. You search the apartment methodically. Behind picture frames. Inside vases. Taped under shelves. Finally, in the back of her jewelry box, beneath a tangle of chains, you find it, a small brass key. Your fingers tremble slightly as you slide it into the lock. It turns with a soft click. Inside, no cash. No secret letters. No incriminating photos. Just a single manila envelope labeled with your name. You sit on the floor, back against the bed frame, and open it. Inside are printed emails, yours to her, over the years. Birthday wishes. Condolences when her father passed. A note you wrote after her breakup with her college boyfriend. He didn't deserve you. But the right one will. Tucked beneath them is a letter in her handwriting. Asterisk, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry, not just for him, but for everything. You were always my safe place, and I turned you into the one thing I couldn't face. I keep thinking you knew more than you let on. That you saw us and let us destroy ourselves because you wanted to teach us a lesson. Maybe you did. Or maybe I just needed someone to blame besides myself. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope, someday, you'll understand that I never stopped loving you. I just got lost. Always yours, asterisk. You read it 3 times. Then you fold it carefully and place it back in the envelope. But something else catches your eye, a folded slip of paper tucked into the corner. A reservation confirmation. Not for a flight. Not for a hotel. For a one-way train ticket. Destination, the same coastal town from the postcard. Departure date, the day after the wedding was supposed to happen. She didn't just leave. She planned her escape around the day that would have sealed her fate, as your sister, as his wife, as someone trapped in a life she no longer wanted. You stand, tucking the envelope into your coat. And for the first time, you feel something other than calculated patience. You feel pity. Because she ran not to find freedom, but to outrun the woman she became when she chose him over you. And no train ride, no seaside town, no amount of silence will ever bring that woman back. It's the kind of place people go to vanish, the kind with peeling paint, salt-crusted windows, and a diner where the coffee tastes like nostalgia and the waitress calls everyone honey. You didn't plan to come here. Not really. But when you found yourself driving north on a whim, foot heavy on the gas, the radio off and the road stretching empty ahead, you knew you wouldn't stop until you saw it for yourself. Until you knew if she was really here, or if this was just another ghost. The town clings to the edge of the ocean like a secret. You check into a motel 2 blocks from the pier, not under your name, just in case. You walk the shoreline that first evening, hands in your pockets, wind tugging at your hair. And that's when you see her. She's sitting on a bench near the lighthouse, wrapped in a thick sweater, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the horizon like it might offer an answer. Her hair is longer, messier. She looks thinner. Tired. But alive in a way she hasn't in months, not the frantic energy of guilt, but the quiet stillness of someone who's finally stopped running. You don't approach. Not yet. You watch from a distance as the sun dips below the water, painting the sky in bruised purples and burnt oranges. She doesn't move. Doesn't check her phone. Doesn't flinch when a seagull cries overhead. She's just present. And for the first time, you wonder if she's healing. You come back the next day. And the next. Always at dusk. Always from a distance. You tell yourself you're just confirming she's safe. But the truth is, you're waiting for the right moment, the precise second when your presence won't feel like an intrusion, but a return. On the fourth evening, she sees you. You're leaning against a lamppost down the street, pretending to read a map you don't need, when she turns her head and locks eyes with you. No surprise. No panic. Just a slow, sad recognition, like she's been expecting you all along. She doesn't run. She waits. You cross the street slowly, heart pounding in a rhythm you don't recognize. When you reach the bench, you don't sit. You just stand there, hands in your pockets, looking out at the sea. You found me, she says, voice rough from disuse. I always do, you reply. A silence settles between you, not awkward, but heavy with everything unsaid. I got your note, she says after a while. I know. She turns to look at you fully then, eyes searching your face like she's trying to memorize it all over again. Why are you here? Because I needed to see if you were all right. I'm trying to be. You finally sit beside her, careful to leave space between you. You left a lot behind. I had to, she says. I couldn't breathe there anymore. Was it him, you ask gently? Or was it me? She flinches. Both. Neither. It was everything. You nod. You understand. Sometimes the weight of a single choice can crush you from the inside out. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a small, worn notebook, the same one you saw on her coffee table before she left. She flips to a page near the end and hands it to you. On it, in her looping script, is a list titled Things I Miss. Your laugh at 2 a.m. The way you always knew when I was lying. Sunday pancakes. Knowing I belonged somewhere. Tears burn your eyes, but you don't let them fall. You still belong, you say softly. She shakes her head. Not after what I did. You made a mistake, you say. Not a life sentence. She looks at you then, really looks, and something shifts in her expression. Not hope, not yet, but the first flicker of possibility. I don't know how to come back, she whispers. You don't have to, you say. Not all at once. But you don't have to stay here forever, either. She doesn't answer. But she doesn't say no. And for now, that's enough. The lies don't stop just because you found her. If anything, they multiply, subtler now, woven into silences and half-truths, designed to protect not just her, but you. She tells you she's been alone since she left the city. She says she hasn't spoken to your brother in months. She claims the only reason she kept the photograph was because it reminded her of the person I used to be before I lost my way. You believe her. Or at least, you let her think you do. Because the truth is, you already know better. A week after your reunion on the pier, you're walking back from the grocery store when you see it, his car, parked outside the small cottage she's been renting. It's not the rental he usually drives. This one's older, nondescript, deliberately chosen to avoid attention. But you'd recognize the dent on the rear fender anywhere. He'd gotten it backing into a pole the day after his 30th birthday. You don't confront her. Not immediately. Instead, you wait until that evening, when you're sharing tea on her porch, the air thick with the scent of brine and wildflowers. You let the conversation drift. Weather, the odd charm of small-town life, how strange it is to see stars again without city lights. Then, casually, you say, "Saw a familiar car downtown today." She freezes. Just for a heartbeat. But you see it. "Oh," she says, voice carefully neutral. "Yeah. Silver sedan. Looks like it's seen better days." She stirs her tea slowly. "Lots of those around." You take a sip, watching her over the rim of your cup. "Funny thing, I could have sworn I saw someone who looked like my brother getting out of it." Her knuckles whiten around her mug. You let the silence stretch. Finally, she exhales. "He came to talk. Just once. But you didn't tell me. I didn't want to complicate things." "You lying to me complicates things," you say, voice low but not unkind. She sets her mug down with a clink. "I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to fix this. But you keep looking at me like I'm a bomb about to go off." "Because you are," you say. "Every time you choose him over honesty, you light another fuse." She looks away, toward the ocean. "It's not that simple. Isn't it?" You lean forward. "He's still in love with you. You're still in love with him. And I'm still the sister you betrayed to get there. That's pretty simple." She flinches. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" you press. "Tell me the truth, not the version that makes you the victim, but the one where you knew exactly what you were doing when you kissed him the first time. When you kept seeing him after the engagement was called off. When you let me comfort you while you were still sneaking around with my brother." Tears well in her eyes, but she doesn't look at you. "I thought, if I walked away, it would be enough. But he followed me. He said he couldn't live without knowing if we had a chance. And you believed him?" "I wanted to." You sigh. "That's the problem. You keep choosing what you want over what's right. And every time you do, you lose a piece of yourself, and me." She finally meets your gaze, raw and pleading. "I never wanted to lose you." "Then stop lying," you say. "To me. To him. To yourself." She doesn't answer. But that night, you find a note slipped under your motel room door. "I'll tell him it's over. For real this time." You don't know if you believe her. But for the first time, you hope she means it. Because the lies aren't just hurting you anymore. They're drowning her. The brothers don't meet in a storm or a cemetery or some cinematic battlefield. They meet in a public park on a Tuesday afternoon, benches empty except for an old man feeding pigeons and a jogger looping past for the third time. You didn't arrange this. You didn't have to. The truth has a gravity all its own, and it's finally pulled them together. You watch from a distance, hidden behind the wide trunk of an oak tree, close enough to hear if you strain, far enough to remain unseen. Your brother arrives first, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. He looks older, tired in a way that sleep won't fix. She comes 10 minutes later, hair pulled back, wearing the same sweater she had on the day she disappeared. They don't hug. Don't kiss. Just stand there, awkward as strangers at a bus stop. I told her, she says after a long pause. He nods. I know. You saw her? Yesterday. His voice is flat. She said you're staying here. For now. Silence. A pigeon struts between them, indifferent. I kept hoping you'd change your mind, he says finally. That we'd find a way. There is no we, she replies, gentle but firm. Not while I'm still hurting the people I love. He looks down, scuffs his shoe against the pavement. I never meant to come between you two. But you did. She steps closer. And I let you. That's on me. But I can't keep choosing a future that's built on someone else's pain. He doesn't argue. Doesn't beg. Just nods again, like he's been expecting this verdict all along. I'm sorry, he says. So am I. They stand there for another minute, the space between them charged with everything they'll never say. Then he turns and walks away, not looking back. She watches him go, arms crossed over her chest like she's holding herself together. You wait until he's out of sight before stepping out from behind the tree. She doesn't seem surprised to see you. You heard. Enough. She lets out a shaky breath. I meant what I said. I know. And you do. There's a clarity in her eyes now that wasn't there before, the kind that only comes after you've stared down your worst self and decided to walk away. Later, over coffee at the diner, she tells you everything. How he showed up unannounced. How he begged her to give them a chance. How she finally admitted she couldn't love him without losing you. I told him the truth, she says, stirring her coffee absently. That I care about him, but not enough to destroy my soul, or yours. You reach across the table and take her hand. That's a start. It's more than a start, she says. It's a promise. You don't ask if she'll come back to the city. Don't push for timelines or guarantees. You've learned the hard way that healing isn't linear. It's messy, uneven, full of setbacks and quiet victories. But for the first time in months, the air between you feels clear. Not fixed, not forgiven completely, but breathable. And that's enough. Because loyalty isn't about never failing. It's about choosing, again and again, to come back, even when you've been the one who walked away. What remains after betrayal isn't wreckage, it's choice. And she's finally making one that doesn't involve running, hiding, or splitting herself between two loyalties. You don't move back to the city together. You don't force reconciliation like it's a checkbox on a healing checklist. Instead, you let time do its quiet work. You visit her on weekends, bringing groceries, old movies, and the occasional bottle of wine. You talk about everything and nothing, books, bad TV, the weird neighbor who yells at seagulls. You avoid the past like a bruise you're not ready to press. But the past doesn't stay buried. One evening, while sorting through a box of her old things she'd shipped up from storage, you find it, the engagement ring. Not in a velvet box, but wrapped in a tissue at the bottom of a shoebox, tucked beneath expired coupons and dried up pens. It glints dully in the lamplight, still beautiful, still heavy with everything it once promised. She freezes when she sees it. I forgot I still had this, she says, voice tight. You never sold it? I couldn't. She picks it up, turns it over in her palm. It felt like selling a piece of you. You don't ask what she means. You already know. The ring wasn't just a symbol of her commitment to your brother, it was a symbol of her promise to you, to your family, to the future you all imagined together. Keeping it wasn't about longing. It was about accountability. What will you do with it, you ask? She looks at you, eyes searching. I was thinking, maybe I could melt it down. Turn it into something new. Like what? I don't know. A necklace. A paperweight. Something that doesn't carry the weight of a broken vow. You nod. That sounds like a good start. She doesn't do it right away. But a week later, you notice the ring is gone from the box. When you ask, she just smiles faintly and touches the simple silver pendant now resting at her collarbone. New beginning, she says. Meanwhile, your brother starts therapy. You hear through your mother, casually, over Sunday pancakes, that he's working through some things. You don't ask for details. You don't need to. The fact that he's trying is enough. And you? You begin to let go, not of the hurt, not completely, but of the need to control the narrative. You stop waiting for her to prove she's changed. You stop watching for signs she'll slip back into old patterns. You just exist beside her, imperfectly, honestly, without an agenda. One rainy afternoon, she asks the question you've both been avoiding. Do you think we can ever go back to how we were? You're quiet for a long time. No, you finally say. But maybe we can build something better. She nods, tears in her eyes. I'd like that. And for the first time, you believe her. Because what remains after betrayal isn't innocence or trust or the past, it's the quiet, daily decision to stay, to try, to choose each other again and again, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Especially then. Time doesn't heal all wounds, it just teaches you how to carry them. A year has passed since she vanished into that coastal town, since your brother's world cracked open, since you stood in her empty apartment holding a letter that felt like both an apology and a goodbye. Now, the three of you exist in a fragile equilibrium, not quite restored, but no longer at war. Your brother visits her once, just once, months after their final talk in the park. Not to rekindle anything, but to return a box of her things he'd kept. Books, a scarf, a framed photo of the two of them at a baseball game, back when everything was simple. She accepts it without tears, thanks him quietly, and they part with a handshake that lasts half a second too long. You hear about it later, not from either of them, but from your mother, who saw them from her car and held her breath until they walked away in opposite directions. She still lives by the sea, though she's talking about moving closer to the city, close enough to visit you often, far enough to keep my peace, she says. You don't push. You've learned that healing isn't a destination, it's a rhythm, and everyone finds their own beat. You visit her less often now, not out of distance, but because you don't need to prove anything anymore. When you do come, it's easy. Natural. Like slipping into a favorite sweater you thought you'd lost. You cook together. Walk the shore. Laugh about old memories without flinching. The past isn't erased, it's just no longer the only thing between you. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon in a blaze of copper and rose, she turns to you and says, I used to think forgiveness was something you gave to someone else. But it's really something you give yourself. You nod. So you can stop carrying their ghost. Exactly. She smiles, small but real. I don't want to be the woman who broke your trust anymore. I want to be the one who earned it back. You're getting there, you say. And you mean it. Because trust isn't rebuilt in grand gestures, it's stitched back together in quiet moments, showing up when you say you will, answering honestly when asked, choosing truth even when it's uncomfortable. She's doing that. Day by day. Choice by choice. Back in the city, your parents still don't talk about what happened. But they've stopped tiptoeing around her name. At Thanksgiving, your mother sets a place for her, even though she's not coming, and no one says a word. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's space. And sometimes, space is the first step toward peace. You don't know if she and your brother will ever be friends again. You don't know if your family will ever feel whole in the same way it once did. But you've made your peace with that. Wholeness isn't about returning to what was, it's about accepting what is, and building something honest from the pieces. And in the end, that's enough. For months after the storm passed, the quiet was the loudest sound of all. Betrayal doesn't just steal trust, it steals the future you thought you'd have. But here's the secret no one tells you: sometimes, the future you rebuild is stronger because it's chosen, not inherited. This story wasn't about revenge in the end. It was about what happens when love survives its own destruction, not unscathed, but wiser. Not the same, but still standing. She fell for your brother. You let her. And in that terrible permission, you both discovered who you really were. Until next time, remember, everyone has their story, but not everyone gets to rewrite the ending. What's one relationship in your life that changed you, not because it stayed perfect, but because it broke and you chose to stay anyway? Drop your thoughts below.